Gentlemen, welcome back to this week's episode of Bone Apple Tea. On this week's episode, we get to sit down and talk to Daisy Maize. She's a local artist in our area who does a whole bunch of things from music, talking like production and vocals. Like she does vocals for a few tracks. Actually, Jaromir, who we've had on the show a couple times, has a bunch of tracks with him where she's a featured vocalist. And she also does a lot of cool like AR, like she's a sculptor. So like sculpture, physical art and digital art, which does a lot of like AR, Instagram filters / like, augmented reality, right? Like projecting things in a virtual space. Have you ever seen those filters on Instagram or TikTok or anything where, or even Snapchat where they have like 3D models kind of like dancing on screen or something? And so she does stuff like that. It's actually really cool. She's an artist who knows a decent amount of like honestly technical things like scripting and coding. So I was actually kind of surprised to learn that about her. Yeah,
same too, because you tend to think of artists as not knowing like that side of the world, but in her case, she actually does know quite a bit.
Yeah, like good for her, honestly, for learning that type of stuff, because sometimes it's just like almost a different mindset than a regular artist would have, but that a lot of are going to have to adopt as we move forward into the future. Really smart, really creative. We talk about kind of what goes into, making that type of stuff. Like and then, what kind of software she uses for that too. Obviously background about her, some funny stories. But yeah, it was a really great conversation. And it's really interesting hearing about just what it's like getting work as like a sculptor and also just like creating art in the digital space. Some info about, maybe up front you were wondering like, oh, how do I even, like what program do I use and what kind of stuff is involved? You get some cool information because it is one of those things that, you see a lot of just on Instagram and on TikTok, but
it's like, how does it get there?
I've always wondered like, how does this even, so, but yeah, we talk about that and more in this episode. Enjoy.
Daisy, welcome. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. I got to hit this button.
Ooh. Sort of important.
Yeah, it'd be kind of important. I got to hit at least record on her camera, right? Like that's the most. Hey, now I got double sound. I don't know what happened.
Oh, wow.
Some just clicked on.
You sat on the cord the right way.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Good job, dude.
So Daisy, thanks so much for coming. It's great having you.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because we initially had another interview today, got canceled. I was like, you know what, we gotta interview Daisy. It's been like we've been talking about it.
It's about time, it's about time.
Yeah,
I know. I'm happy the way things that worked out, even though it was kind of like totally crazy yesterday. 24 hours figuring out plans.
I know. I felt bad for Jaromir because he's doing a lot of work for us, which is fantastic, and we appreciate.
He's
the
like
crap
the liaison,
out of him.
in between, trying to get everything going here. So
yeah, I mean, he's been making just like stuff happen for us, like with Audio Mac and like getting artists and like all that kind of stuff. It's been great.
Yeah.
So
well,
like,
he's super thankful to you guys too for keeping it up and doing what you guys do, because it's really cool what you guys have all kind of are doing and for the platform and bringing in that awesome podcast audience that I think is different.
Yeah,
totally
and I think it's nice because if someone really likes an artist, they can like come to our show and learn more about them and stuff. So I think as the show keeps growing on Audio Mac, more and more people will like appreciate that ability to like, oh, wait a minute, they were on a podcast and I could just, and everything's linked.
Yeah,
it's funny looking at the audience spread too, because like you said, it's just unexpected. We didn't think that that's what would have happened, but it did, and then now it's like cool. We can bring on artists that kind of demographic listens to, so and it works out because
exactly.
Jaromir kind of knows a lot of them.
He knows more people every day. I'm like, wait, you know that person? He's like, yeah, we hung out.
Yeah, it's casual.
He keeps it casual. Exactly. Exactly.
Wait, when did you first meet Jaromir?
So we met in LA like 6 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I was just living there for a brief time with my dad, who that's a whole other backstory. Didn't really know him very well. Came to my graduation and was like, hey, I'm 6 months sober for the first time in my life. Do you want to come live with me? And so I moved out to LA for a few months, probably 8 to 9 months or so. Mm-hmm. And towards the back end of it, I was like having a really weird time because there's like, to put it lightly, the place there is like very strangely designed. So he basically has like a horror house as his house.
A horror house as his house?
It's like a
like almost like a haunted house.
Yeah, like in the shower there's a dead body.
What?
Okay,
yeah.
I
mean, it's art. It's art. Yeah, it's very Halloween-y. Okay. He's got like a giant elephant skull in a coffin when you first walk in.
And this is your
like
dad?
An actual, not like an actual dead body, like a Halloween type decoration.
So it looks very realistic, but it's got like huge breasts, but it looks like a creepy old man on his face.
Oh my God.
And I had to shower with him.
Sorry, this is like the most. That's like, that is nuts. Like, I mean, you know,
what is going on?
Yeah, so I couldn't stay there too long. There was also like a dead cat in the freezer, so it's like a little intense.
That wasn't a decoration? That was like just a dead cat?
I think that was just his friend. I think his name was like, it started with a P, but I don't remember it anymore. Anyways, so it had a name.
Wow, this is a roller coaster. I had no idea.
So sorry.
This guy is a warlock.
No, I mean, this is
he's kind of
very interesting. Yeah.
So anyways, I was living out in LA in a really weird environment that I was like kind of ready to leave. And then I met Jaromir actually so sweetly. Like it was just very platonic at first. Like I didn't even realize that we had a connection. I thought I was getting friend zoned, actually, to be completely honest, because he lived with this beautiful up and coming female DJ that I was just like, oh, this must be his.
Oh, like his girl.
His girl that they're together every day. I mean, yeah, like obviously. So I just thought that when we met, it was like just friends, and it wasn't until, and we hung out like a few times. We just had like a really awesome connection. You know, like we could talk about anything for hours, and it was just such a good connection. He actually helped me like find my voice, because I was super nervous to even get in front of a microphone for a really long time. Like,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
you're such a good singer.
Oh, thank you. I have crazy stage fright anxiety, unfortunately. But it's kind of exciting. It's like makes life challenging, so that's fun. You know, it should be like, I'm facing my fear, getting in front of this thing.
Yeah. Well, it's also, it can add an element to a performance that you can't get when you're by yourself, that can sometimes be really good too.
Very true. It's a whole other element, because you are putting this it's more emotional. It's really, it draws an emotion out of you. It's almost like an onion, this thing. Because, you know, the onions, it draws, like you're cutting it and it's like pulling emotion out of you. And it's kind of like a microphone. Anyways, so yeah, he helped me find my voice during that time when I was living in a really weird place. And then I moved back home. This is home. Connecticut is home. And I moved back here just to get my college degree and everything. And it wasn't until like last time that we hung out together in LA, we both like had this crazy look in our eyes. Like we were like, this chapter can't be over between us, like being friends. And like this connection was like so real and so strong. And we always kept in touch the whole time. It was always like FaceTiming and voice memos. While I was at school, and yeah, so it was totally like just happened the way it was meant to, you know, even though it took so long.
What a cute story.
Yeah, so 4 years we're just building this connection, even though we had
4 years.
4
you were
years
doing that.
I was
like,
at school, because I was at school. I went to get my degree, and
What'd you get your degree in, by the way?
I got my degree in sculpture.
Sculpture.
Yeah,
wow.
I got my BFA from Lime Academy right
Okay.
before they closed the school. They closed my sophomore year, technically. They announced they were closing my sophomore year. So I had to do like an acceleration program. I was like, whoa, I don't even know how I got my degree. It's still a whirlwind to me, a confusion mess. But anyways, when I was at school, we were always keeping in touch. And then literally as soon as I graduated, I went and made a West Coast trip. This was in like February of 2020. And I made a West Coast trip, and we had our first kiss and our first date, our first like real date. And that was like the moment where we both knew, we were like, yeah, you're my soulmate. I love you. Yeah, it was really awesome.
Just a quick point.
Just a little one. Wait, so when did because all right, so then he was living in California, and then he ended up moving here. Yeah,
so I kind of dragged him here with me.
Good.
Well, mainly we were living out in Orange County. I moved out there with him during 2020, like when kind of everything was kind of hitting the fan.
Yeah.
I think it was like April. It was April that we made our both of our birthdays are 2 days apart. So I'm 7 and he's
cool.
9.
Oh, wow.
So we did like an awesome cross country trip for our birthdays and moved me out west. Packed up my Prius with all my belongings and then made it across the country. And then when we were over there, we were kind of wanting to move closer to the city, but we didn't really want to move to LA. So we were looking in San Diego, and then we ended up going close to Portland. So we moved.
Wow.
Yeah, Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, wow.
It's like literally the opposite
yeah,
end
we're
of the
like,
country.
all right, all the way up now.
Yeah. Wow. It's like Florida to Maine.
Yeah.
Basically, basically. So it was a really big trip, but it was really beautiful out there, and I think we would have stayed a whole lot longer. But with everything going on with like, in 2020 was crazy, right?
Yeah,
it was.
I mean, nobody
especially
knew
in
what the hell
Portland.
they were doing.
Portland, Oregon got friggin'
Exactly.
insane mode.
If we had foreseen what would have happened in Portland, I don't know that we would have definitely gone there, but we were going to like some of the marches in LA, and we were like, this is tame for the most part. I mean, there were a couple that were not tame, obviously, but for the most part, we're like, we can handle, what are they doing? A few marches up there. And then it just got a whole lot crazier out in Portland.
Yeah, well,
like,
Portland
really
started like
just
holding
escalated,
it down with like guns and like mini cities within a city, and the police was just like,
Yeah, like
they can just do what they want.
That was the funny
They're
part
doing
too.
side missions.
Like, it was like it seemed like a video game. Like it didn't seem
It
like
was
real
such a
life.
video
You know what I
game.
mean?
Yeah, it was like
it was basically a bunch of cooped up punks that hadn't done anything fun in months, and now they're like, all right, screw it, we're throwing fireworks at the courthouse.
Wait, so did you guys like see, like, if you're just out on the streets, like see these people just walking around with guns, or like see where they were stationed, or I don't know if you purposely avoided?
Yeah, I mean, we went into town like a few times during when we knew there was riots going on, and it was just like kind of an experience just to watch. Like, we weren't fully part of it, but it was interesting because a lot of it was honestly peaceful protest. Most of it was peaceful protest, just punks that wanted to go out and congregate. Just because they were told for months that they aren't allowed to see their friends. Yeah. And so they just go out in the park and they're like, no, we're hanging out here. And then where it would get crazy was all of a sudden the cops would be throwing tear gas.
Oh my God.
And then of course people are going to react negatively to that.
Yeah, for sure.
So a lot of it was unfortunately escalated by the authorities.
Oh,
interesting. I could see that.
Yeah.
Maybe I wonder if that's why they just started saying, you know what? Never mind. Because
you know what?
You're just walking your dog and you get like shot with rubber bullets or something. Like, whoa.
Yeah, no, basically though, and that was happening, and it's crazy too. Like these rubber bullets, each bullet it was like very expensive. I'm pretty sure each bullet is $40. They're shooting them off rounds at a time.
Yeah, and it's not like it's just like,
and this is taxpayer
rubber
money.
bullet, and it's not like you get shot with a rubber bullet and you're like,
it's sweltering. Yeah, no, my
breaking bones
dad
and stuff.
was in LA. He got shot with a rubber bullet, and it was like a sweltering thing. Yeah, and he saved some of them too. He saved them. He's like, look at these little bitches that cost like $40 of my taxpayer money.
Yeah,
each one of them just going
pretty nuts.
Yeah. So, anyways,
super expensive.
We can move on from that.
No, but that's interesting. Like, I haven't spoken to anybody that was like in Oregon when all that stuff was happening. So
okay,
it's kind of just cool to see your perspective.
I mean, we honestly would have stayed if we didn't get evacuated from the fires.
Oh my God.
So we had gotten evacuated from the crazy wildfires, but we probably would have hung out there. But then when we got evacuated, we were kind of like, okay, there's a lot going on.
Wildfires. Yeah, wow. 2020. I almost forgot like how nuts it was on the West Coast.
So wild.
But we're just over here and like nothing really happened on the East Coast.
Yeah,
I mean,
like, East Coast did not get the craziness.
No, we did not.
It was
maybe we're just
me.
late to the party.
Yeah, maybe. I
think
this is 2022.
A lot of these East Coast people were just like, "Can I get my Dunkin'?"
Yeah,
Exactly.
New York, and like I think I went to New York once because I don't remember why. Maybe because I flew out of New York for some work thing or something. But the streets were like completely empty. That was like the weird part. Is like there was no traffic, no cars, like not even really people. And I was like, this is like the weirdest. I've never been to New York. I thought it was like a movie, like one of those like 28 weeks later, and like the streets are empty. There's like tumbleweed and shit.
Yeah, in New York City.
It was, and that was what our cross country trip was like too in April. And the gas was like $1.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
And there was just no one on the road, like even in the cities on the popular highways, and we were just like, This is crazy.
There was, I have a snap
Yo.
too. There was that whole period of time where here it was like $1.50 for a gallon of gas.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
insane.
because nobody was driving. Nobody was going anywhere, which
Yeah.
is so weird to even think about. It feels like a weird dream that we
Yeah.
all like woke up from and we're like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
It's like a full 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
so
that's another crazy part about it too. Yeah. Sorry.
completely unrelated here.
Yes. Yeah.
But so like sculpture or sculpting,
Mhm.
and then now you do kind of more digital art. Do you
Yeah.
still do sculpting or?
Yeah, I do. I actually am doing a few commission pieces at the moment. I'm making like down in the Mystic Village, there's like a scarecrow fest. So I'm making a big scarecrow thing.
Oh, that's pretty
Then I
cool.
just made like a big sculpture for a window in the same shop. And then I'm also sculpting a lobster thing for the big lobster trap buoy
Okay.
thing, Christmas tree.
Oh,
thing.
cool.
So how do you? You said it sounds almost like contracting type work or consulting. Like how does it
Yeah.
work when you're kind of like a freelance sculptor? Like you know what I mean? It's just it's a very. Because I don't know many. You know, I know some actually, oddly enough,
Yeah.
but I don't like how do you go about getting work?
I mean,
At least up front, right?
Yeah, so I really kind of have to just put myself out there,
Mhm.
which is really hard. And that's like a challenge that I'm like still working through and just pushing myself to go to a random shop and be like, hey, you look like you need art in this window, you know, that kind of a thing. And it's hit or miss business, right? You know, so
Yeah.
sometimes I could have 5 different commissions all at once. And then sometimes I could have like nothing and I'm trying to chase down what comes next. And it's just kind of fun that way because it keeps it challenging, it keeps it exciting. And I do digital art, like you said. So I keep it broad. Like if somebody needs art, then whatever they need, like
Yeah.
I'm kind of like the cliche jack of all trades, master of none type thing. Unfortunately.
Well, I mean, you know, I feel like art is very much like that though, where it's
Yeah.
like, you know, I don't know, you do like a handful of things because it's just like being creative, right? Like somebody's just like hiring you to be creative.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I was gonna say like I know you make a lot of those TikTok filters too, or just filters in general.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you made that lion thing though. That was so
The
Yeah.
the Macarena line.
Yeah, the Macarena.
That
line.
was like that was
Is there-
like
is there a
perfectly
way- is there
dancing
a way
on
for
beat
me-
to that song.
Yeah, is there a way for me to like put the lion like here or something?
You probably
Yes.
could snip
Yeah.
it.
Probably somehow.
Okay.
Just dancing
I
in
think
your
there
hand
should
right
be.
now.
There should be
Yeah.
a way.
Okay. We
Yes.
should figure that out so that like in post.
I can figure this out.
In
I'll figure this
post,
out.
I'll put them right here.
Grab the lion.
Yeah.
have him dancing.
Send me the clip and I'll put them in there.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So that's been my newest like exciting challenge that I've been working towards is augmented reality. That's kind of been my like direction with art lately. Is I love making sculptures and everything. I just think that I heard a great quote in art school that was something along the lines of be the best artist that you can today. So today we live in a time where everything's digital. Everything is on our technology for the most part. More likely people are going to be scrolling, hearting art on their phone than they are to like buy a poster and put it on their wall, you know? So I'm trying to adjust to that, you know? I'm trying to live in that world where even though I personally am not somebody that likes to spend a lot of time on my phone, after like a few minutes, I'm like, I hate this thing.
Yeah.
It starts to like melt my brain, you know? And so I'm just trying to be the best artist that I can for this current era that we're in, because right now we're going into that augmented reality world. We're going into the virtual reality world. Everything is in the metaverse or
I mean,
whatever.
it's true. Like, I don't know. It makes a lot of sense. I think one going forward, but then also it's good to just like, you know, do a variety of different types of, it's like a new problem, right? So it's
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
exposing yourself to like different types of problem solving in a sense when you're making art. And I
Yeah.
feel like it would just make you a better artist in general, you know, if you just have a wide variety of things you've done. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of bleed into each other.
Yeah, well, that's the hope. And eventually I do want to turn it into like a physical thing. So I want it to be, I shouldn't say physical thing, but like I want to make like an AR game
Oh,
that
so
kind of
cool.
combines everything that I do between making music and I do a lot of like storytelling. Like I'm currently writing like a little novella type thing about like a sci-fi satire type style thing. So I want to like
That's fun.
turn that into the AR game where it kind of like immerses you into this whole other reality, but you're still in this
Like a
reality.
little
technically.
experience.
Yeah.
That would actually
Oh,
be super
wow.
cool. I don't know if you ever used one of those like like a HoloLens or one of those AR goggles, but
Yeah.
like I don't know if it's out yet or what the deal is, but back in
those out?
2017 at this like tech hackathon thing that I went to, it's like this little competition in Boston. They had the HoloLens there, just like a demo, and you could put it on, and like they would have like, you know, like 3D block letters just kind of like floating, and you could like walk around them and they would stay still, and you could like put screens on the wall and stuff. And it's AR, right? So it's just like the room we're in, but you know, there's like a ballerina dancing on the table or something.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it was
exactly.
like, it was super cool. So it's totally like a thing. Like for sure that's going to be super, like, I think that would be a really cool thing to do just in general, because like that tech works really well.
Exactly. It's very beautiful. Though.
Yeah, I've seen it used with even like mechanics and stuff. They'll have like a bike or something they're working on, and they can like swap out parts and like try out different like colors on their bike, and like I don't know, it just seems like a really cool way to like work with the world around you prior to, it's almost like a simulation prior to actually executing. But like when it comes to making the digital stuff, how did you even get into that? Because that seems so different than the physical sculpting.
Yeah, I guess actually, I've always really loved digital art, and so for me, it was fun. I took my last course that I took at college was a 3D computer modeling and a little bit of animation.
Okay,
and so just for half a semester, I worked on animation, and just those few weeks was enough for me to be like, oh, I love this. I love this. This is so much fun. And so for me, I took to the 3D modeling very quickly because I sculpt in real life. So bringing it into the digital world, I was like, this is so easy. I'm not even making a mess.
Yeah.
edit, undo.
Can't tell you. Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you how much clay I've had to clean off the rugs and how much I've had to just little things on the back end that it's all removed from the digital world. Like just cleaning up, setting up, like making sure your space is clean so you don't get hair in your clay. There's so much time that goes into making like a finished, well-done sculpture. And then when you're on digital world, it's like, I'm just playing around. This is fun.
Exactly. You
I
can
just
make
get
as many
to tap,
mistakes
tap,
as you
tap.
want.
Exactly. And then I can just go, undo. I liked it better before, which is, it's insane actually how different of a game that makes it, and I think any physical artist will tell you that if they go into digital art, they'll be like, this is wild. Like the fact that this has been created for us to just so quickly have this creative idea and then just bloop it out.
That's the thing is like you
amazing.
can try, like if you have like, you're like, oh, maybe you have a sculpture and you're like, well, I want to do this with it, or I could do this, or I could do this. I don't know which one I would like better. You could literally do all of them and it doesn't matter because you can go back.
Exactly.
Which is crazy because
thing.
like it just lets you quickly like try different things out and you don't have to worry about restarting,
Yeah.
It's actually very similar to music these days too, where like before, if you wanted to record something, you were very much committed to that recording that you made, where it's like now, like you can go back in and be like, oh, actually, I want the drums to be different. You don't have to get the drummer to come on in.
Exactly.
You just click a few buttons and now the drummer is playing a completely different beat.
It's so true. Yeah, that's so true. It's crazy how hard people had it in the past.
Yeah.
And then we are just so quickly to be like, all right, we're on to the next thing. This is how we're going to make it now. And like, I feel like it's interesting how, I mean, in a way, humans are just evolving to get lazier and lazier, right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down
It's
to.
like all about comfort.
It's all about comfort and convenience.
Yeah, comfort.
So, and it's crazy how we are evolving more and more to just like basically adapt to being like, all right, how can I just sit here and still be creative and still be productive
and still make money off of it
but
too.
I'm just gonna sit here and tap 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 tap.
Yeah,
basically.
How can I make money doing nothing?
Yeah,
that's
really,
like people's biggest question.
That is people's biggest question at this point, and we're getting closer and closer to that every single day because most people do just sit in a chair all day.
Oh yeah,
and they're making a career out of that.
Yeah, I was showing Adam some of these TikTok lives last night, and I'm like, dude, there's just these people on TikTok that just sit there with their phone in front of them, and they're just like,
yeah, literally. Just
thanks for the likes,
eating fruit,
just like a big push-up bra, just like,
oh my god, that's so crazy
thanks.
to me. Thanks.
And there's like 30,000, there's like 3,000 people watching or something, and you're like, what
are they
is this?
watching?
Yeah, like
what are they watching?
This person's not even being engaging. They're like being like very apathetic about like everything that's going on.
You just feel like you're hanging out with them. Maybe it's just lonely people that are just like, oh,
hey,
this is my friend. We're FaceTiming.
It's just so interesting sometimes coming across that stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, this is just on the internet. Somebody's watching this, like, this is great. You know what I mean?
Somebody cares about this, yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I think AR is really cool because I feel like, in a sense, it's similar to kind of how now, like, I don't know, video games are super crazily well done that you can kind of immerse yourself in a world. But like, literally, like somebody could sit down, like you want, and just create like a little world, and somebody could throw themselves into it. Mm-hmm. It's just like a cool way. I feel like, especially with art, because like that's the whole idea is you want somebody to kind of like be immersed in your art.
Exactly.
But you can add like audio and visual and like spatial elements to it, which is like crazy. You know, you don't do that now.
To me, the first true AR thing that absolutely stormed the world was Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
For sure.
Pokemon Go was the first augmented reality thing that like I remember hanging out with Maddie in New Hampshire, and people would go on walks to like the center of town to catch Pokemon.
When we were in college, everybody was,
I totally remember that.
There would just be like droves of people all walking together, and everyone's got their phone out doing that. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's some kind of event.
So true. Yeah. I saw people actually out in the middle of the road because there was like, in downtown Mystic, there's like a sculpture in the middle of the road, like roundabout. And there was like a place where you could catch Pokemons in that, in that sculpture. And there would be like hurdles of people in the middle of the road trying to catch their Pokemons. And I'm like, this is wild.
Get out of the way. You're like freaking out. Well, I mean, it's only going to get better too. You know what I mean? That was like a phone-based thing. Like the HoloLens is kind of a heavy thing, but
and then
I feel like eventually they're just going to have them in glasses.
There's the Echo Glass. I think that's what it's called. Amazon just came out with it, or not just came out, but right now it's just audio. But I bet it's not going to take them long to turn it into like
a visual thing too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're there. Google Glass.
Google Glass. I remember
that was years ago.
I think it was almost a little too ahead of its time. It was freaking people out a little bit.
I think you're
because like, I mean, and I don't know. I think maybe the style of it wasn't exactly there too, because it was just, wasn't it just like a singular glass?
It was a little thing that would sit on your glasses. One of my cousins actually had one, because you could sign up to be a developer, and so you got one, and you could. But the thing too is back then, like, it wasn't fast enough. The internet speeds weren't fast enough to like get you results quick.
We weren't on that 5G.
Yeah, exactly. You know? It's like a different experience. Like you really need super fast internet speeds because you need things to be kind of instant.
To load and stuff.
And it's funny you say that actually, because a lot of like even the lion filter that I made, I have it on TikTok too, and I've seen people like in India and all over the world using my filter, but I can tell that they don't have good Wi-Fi because it's so choppy. And I'm like, oh man, it's like it's almost there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The art is almost there, but it still feels like painful to watch.
I know what you mean, especially
we're like
when
so close.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe like if you made because like that's a pretty complex model.
Yeah.
Do you think if you maybe made a simpler model?
Yeah.
Like
I have been thinking about that.
Like it would like load a little faster.
Like Horace.
Yeah, or like maybe just like
Horace?
I love that. I love that guy.
He's so great. And he's very like not a lot of triangles to him, not a lot of polygons.
Yeah, that's true.
So more polygons, longer to load,
I gotta
harder
see
to.
this.
So what did you? Horace is the. If
Horace.
You can throw him up on a hand if you want to do his little dance. Horace is that little bald, like
he's
ET looking guy,
round man. He's like a little blueberry.
Can
man.
I search him?
Yeah, if you look up Horace, he's like one of my favorite. Like all those, like just him dancing a Drake.
He was a huge inspiration. I found Horace dancing, and I was like, I want to make you. I want to make something like you.
So how do you what's like the program you use to make these?
So for Instagram, I use Spark AR, and then for TikTok, it's Effect House.
Okay.
And both of them are a little bit different, but they're similar. You know what I mean? So it kind of, you have to like be able to adapt your brain to like, so I used to do HTML and CSS in school. And so I got a little bit of that coding knowledge, just enough to start like getting my brain working in those gears, you know? And so you do have to know scripting to be able to make some of these filters. Like I'm still working on getting things to like track perfectly in reality. And I also think that the technology is working on it too. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of in its infancy stages, but I have this like feeling that by the time we're old people, there's just going to be like holograms and everything's going to be digital all over the place. You'll play digital drums probably. Like, I mean, there already are digital drums, but like probably most things are going to be a facade.
Yeah, I agree. I think like it'll honestly, one, like they'll shrink the technology. So like the glasses will be like regular glasses maybe, you know? And then I don't know. It's weird to think like, oh, maybe you buy a house and just the walls are all just white, blank white, right? And you just throw glasses on and it turns into your house. You know what I mean?
Ooh,
so like, I mean, obviously like you have a chair and a couch and stuff because you need to sit on something, but like,
well, that's interesting to say that too, because technically, if you really want to get technical in spirituality terms, this is all simulation here.
That's true. We're technically already in advanced AR.
The advanced AR. We're little AR creatures trying to make the AR even more advanced in our own brains.
Yeah, that's the whole.
You just wake up again. You're like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, you die. You wake up again. Whoa, that was too much. Whatever that was. I did not need to go through all that heartbreak and struggle just to find out I took a little nap. You know, it is kind of crazy. It reminds me of that Rick and Morty episode, the Miniverse.
Yeah,
I love that show.
Oh god, they keep going.
Even when they play that video game where he lives an entire man's life. And
exactly.
He dies and he takes the goggles off. He's like, holy shit.
Oh my god. Yeah, and it was like a terrible life. And he's like, why did I just do that?
Yeah.
And I bet there's a lot of like human lives like that. And then the soul wakes up and it's like, what the fuck was I just doing stuck in that body's life?
Yeah.
You know?
You have to imagine that there's some lesson attached to it.
I do. I really do. I mean, I guess I always try to look for the deeper meaning to everything. So even if I'm watching Rick and Morty, I'm like, they're throwing some real truth on us right here.
Yeah.
They're letting us know how the universe works. And then like at the end, it starts to get a little bit too pervy. But like, I mean, that's how the universe works too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is funny. It's kind of crazy that like, I mean, like good, in my opinion, good comedy, good like basic like writing and stuff always has like an underlying meaning that they don't try and like shove at you. They let you figure it out for yourself.
Exactly.
So I always like that.
Well, actually, okay.
Were you about to ask about music or?
Well, yeah, sort of music related, but then also can bridge into some music talk. I was listening to like a few songs, obviously, but like one of them that came up, I feel like I'm going to forget the name. It's in my like recently played.
Is it possibly Simulated Circus? Because that song goes a lot into what we were just talking about.
I think it was like Freedom or something.
Okay, yeah, Freedom. Yeah. That one's nice.
That was that was the one that I not first heard, but like I was listening to Spotify on random and just like on shuffle, and it came up and I was like, oh man, like this is a good song and like this girl can really sing. And so like I picked up my phone and then I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, that's Daisy. but yeah, I was like, this girl's got a great voice. And yeah, I went to go like the song and then I was like, oh my God, it's them. Like, what
are the chances?
But,
that's so beautiful. Those are the beautiful moments that like make me be like, I'll keep creating.
Yeah, that's why I like messaged you guys because I was like, this is so funny because like I saw it, I was like, this is great.
Yeah, that made my day. Seriously, I was like, this is what I'm making stuff for.
Well, I was wondering too. So, because I was looking at you know how on Spotify, like when you look at the screen, it has like a little 3-second thing or whatever, and it's like,
Canvas.
did you do the visuals for that? Or
usually, yes.
Okay.
For Freedom,
yes, it's like the bird cage and it spins around. Okay,
okay. So the bird cage that's spinning around for Freedom on the canvas, that was actually Jay Dudala's visual guy, so that was not me. Okay. But I did make like all the other canvases for our independent releases. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like when you do stuff with labels, unfortunately, like you have to relinquish a lot of control, and I'm totally a creative control freak, admittedly.
So is that tough? Is that tough to be like?
It's so hard, especially with so our new song Revival that came out. I like really had in mind a cover art that I wanted to make for it, but because we were releasing it with Jaromir's manager at the time, he had his own idea for the cover art, and I just have to be like, okay, I don't get to control everything.
Yeah. I know. It is like annoying though, especially if you're involved in some capacity, because then you're like, all right, well, like this has my name on it. And then people are going to be like, oh, this was but it's like, really, I wanted to do something else. You know what I mean? It's a whole thing.
I definitely, I struggle with that. It's always been something that I'm like not very good at collaborative projects because I have like an idea in my mind and I have the whole idea fleshed out. Like everything down to the supplies, down to the exact color scheme. And that is something that I'm working on, is to just try to like be like, okay, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And that's something that just comes with growing as like a soul, right?
Yeah.
And not being like, I want it my way.
Yeah. It's like
I could be like that. But.
Yeah. It's just like the ability of being like, okay, I can control what I can control.
Yes, exactly.
And then there's certain limiting factors that unfortunately I have to forgive my control in order to like let things happen smoothly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's tough, but I feel like in the long term, it also like helps you out too, because like sometimes like you think you have the best idea and then like someone will come with something, and maybe initially if you had full creative control, you would be like, no, you know, but in reality, it might actually work out better.
Exactly. And that's why collaborations do so well. Like some of the most popular songs are written by 10, 20 people.
Yeah.
You know?
It is kind of crazy to think about.
It's crazy to think about that. Like a lot of the most popular stuff that we hear today are a huge team that all put a tiny idea into it.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that was like a huge wake up call for me when I realized that about the music industry, because I was like, wait, you mean that Britney Spears isn't writing all her own stuff and playing the guitar and doing all the stuff on the back end and choreographing her own dance moves?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? And I was like, she's not my idol anymore.
I can't remember like when that happened for me, but it was something similar where it was like, somebody was like, yeah, well, this person, whatever, like writes their own songs. And I was like, yeah, doesn't everybody write their own songs?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then like
The
you
answer's
think about
no.
it and you like look into it and you're like, oh yeah, no, like nobody does.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
In fact, it's kind of wild how most of the people that you see are purely performers.
Yes.
They are pure, like, if they're doing really well for themselves, they don't have time to make the soundtrack and everything like that.
Yeah.
They have their hands in way too many things. They have to be a performer on social media. They have to be constantly having that, like, what's the word? They always have to have their face on, you know,
Right.
their
Their
performing
persona,
act,
kinda.
their persona. Yeah. And
like
so
being The Rock.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
where like he's always on.
he's got to be that character all the time.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't have time to go back behind the scenes and click around and do all his own animations and canvases and cover arts and blah, blah, blah. Not that he makes music, but you know.
Yeah. but like in the same vein of things, like one that I think of as a really good example a lot of times is Justin Bieber with the song Love Yourself, which was originally made by Ed Sheeran. And I watched this interview with Ed Sheeran, and he said he actually wrote the song initially for Rihanna.
Oh wow.
And it was initially a track for Rihanna, and it was going to be called Fuck Yourself. And this was a Howard Stern interview, and he's like, can I swear? And he's like, this is Howard Stern. He's like, yeah, dude. And so he played the song, and he was like, you know, why don't you go fuck yourself? And
you should go and fuck yourself.
Yeah, and then he's like,
song,
and he was pretty much saying that like when he originally wrote the song, he had Rihanna in mind because he could picture this woman being really sassy and like you know kind of like.
Yeah.
But then it ended up getting to Justin Bieber, and Justin Bieber sang it, and they were like, oh, let's make this more poppy, and so they changed it to Love Yourself. But now when you listen to that track, if you picture Ed Sheeran singing it sounds like an Ed Sheeran song because it has that chorus where it's his chest voice in the falsetto
Isn't he?
at the same time.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's actually in the song,
true.
right?
No,
Like
it's just Justin Bieber.
he's not like a background.
No,
nothing?
it just sounds like an Ed Sheeran song because it's exactly how Ed Sheeran would do a
crazy.
chorus.
It makes so much sense. Yeah. That does make a
I mean,
lot of
I
sense.
love that song.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why
music.
there's like a lot of artists too that you're like, oh, their stuff sounds a lot like their stuff. And it's like, oh, they had the same writer.
Yes.
Mark
Yeah.
Ronson.
Yeah.
It's just writing everything for everybody.
I was gonna say,
So
isn't there
so-
like one guy that does like he does like Katy Perry? He does
you're
like
probably talking about Mark Ronson, most
Yeah.
likely.
Probably,
There's
yeah.
a couple of guys. There's definitely a couple
Perry.
guys that are like up there, but
no one knows their name, but they're like kabillionaires.
Mark
you know?
billionaires.
Yeah.
They don't want to be on the stage. I mean, that's understandable. The stage is not for everybody.
No,
Yeah.
it's tough.
But then there's some people that all they want is on the stage.
Yes.
They don't really care about all the technical stuff on the other side. Like Jaromir and I actually worked with a Swedish artist that she was just like, I've always wanted to be a performer. And I'm like, so do you produce? And she was like, the technical stuff just doesn't interest me. I'm a performer.
Okay. And you're like, hey, at least you know your lane.
Yeah, exactly.
good,
you know?
Exactly. Hey,
Probably learn like a little bit of the technical stuff.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
believe
you
me.
gotta get a little
I
familiar.
tell Joe. So my cousin Joe, his artist name is Joe Ego.
Joe Ego.
He's like hip hop rap, and I encouraged him. I was like, hey, dude, like unless you want to pay like thousands and thousands of dollars for recording engineering and mixing engineering, get your own stuff. I'll send you what mics to get. And I just had him get the same mics that I have so that he can record everything on his own time in his own little personal studio, and then send me everything on the back end.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
I was like, I set him up with Cubase because I have Cubase, so it makes everything very easy.
Uh-huh.
But I was telling him is that the more that you learn about the technical side, the better of an artist you're going to be because you can communicate with a mixing engineer. So when you hear like, oh, that sounds like too much saturation on my vocal,
Yes.
you don't say laser sound, you say saturation.
Yeah,
You say,
yeah.
you
It's like too
That's
much
so
laser
true.
sound.
yeah, like you know,
Yeah.
so like
I know.
and like
I know what you
it
mean.
helps though because
does help.
I've had to work with him for so long where he would be saying like things and descriptions for things that I had to like interpret what that might mean in a mix. And then like he'll be here in real time and I'll change something. And he's like, that was it. It's gone now. It's gone now. What did you do? And I was like,
wow.
okay, so for next time,
We're gonna
this
call
is,
it
yeah,
the
this is
saturation.
this is called saturation.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh.
Yes.
Um,
we're not going to overdrive the compressor here.
Yeah.
And it is funny too, because when I was like just starting to get into the music industry, I would often like call things smushy. Just calling
Yeah.
things smushy.
Music terms are so
all
weird.
the time.
Yeah.
I was always being like, man, my mix is so smushy.
Yeah.
And
Boxy,
I
smushy,
didn't
muddy.
have a better word for it. It
Yeah.
was just smushy.
That's the
Yeah.
thing is it's like you got all these like plugins or whatever, and all the knobs say like wet,
yeah.
like
wet.
fat. I'm
Yeah.
like,
See,
Fat.
super
Attack.
wet, you're gonna get a smushy mix.
Yeah.
exactly. So like you come in and you're like, all right, what?
Yeah, D mud, and engineers are so literal. DS, de-excite,
You
de-clarify.
know what? Good though.
Yeah.
because
It's good. It's good.
It's like very to the
De-reverb.
point.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also good. I feel like as an artist, if you know what you can do from a communication perspective, but also like if you're coming up with ideas, like now oh, I can do this to my voice because I know
Yeah.
Randy can turn up to saturation. Or,
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah,
like
right.
so when you're coming up with ideas, you can be like, all right, well, I'm going to sing this and I want this on it.
Well, and the one thing I've been trying to teach him how to do is auto tuning his own vocal, because he's not like a music theory person, and I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people are. A lot of people, they just like hear things and it sounds good. So for those people, the two most important plugins if you're a singer are going to be Antares Auto Key.
Oh, auto, yeah.
Auto key you can throw on your song and it'll auto tell you what the key of the
What?
song
Oh,
is.
wow.
And then you can set your auto tune plugin to that key, and now everything you sing is in key.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, and
wow,
so
that's crazy how many shortcuts there are. These
Yes,
days. It's wild.
and it's great because it's
Yeah.
and it's a huge shortcut because it's a big barrier to entry. To even if you have the auto tuning plugin, I've heard a lot of amateur mixes where I can tell, oh shit, they're in the wrong key in the auto tune.
Oh yeah.
So it's like they're singing with auto tune, but it's all out of key. So it's like
Right.
they thought it sounded good, but it
But
actually
they
is
tuned
clashing.
it to the wrong key
Yeah.
because they didn't know the key of the original song.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
I know. I actually avoid autotune when I'm
Yeah.
producing
Mhm.
because I have found sometimes it can make it sound weirder.
Yeah.
Like there are certain things I just have like a weird voice, but there are certain times where I'll sing something raw. I'm like, this sounds better than when I turn autotune on, and I'm like, that sounds like a robot
Yeah.
trying to sing what it was supposed to be sung. And I'm like, I kind of like the raw version better. So a lot of the time with my own stuff, I won't use it. But Jaromir is very trained in like what the EDM world likes. So he always puts it on because that's
Yeah.
kind of that's the vibe. So.
Everyone is very used to hearing that sound,
People
especially
are used to robot voices.
Yes.
Which is wild.
Yes, robot voices and robots in general,
Robots,
because like it's not a real drummer, it's not real keyboards.
So
It's like
true.
everything is a virtual instrument that's time aligned to a grid. So it's like
In a way, we already are robots.
yes,
Yeah.
In
with the
a way,
phones, the
we're
cell
just
phones.
playing with
Yeah.
robots to the point where we're turning ourselves into a robot in a way,
I know.
in an abstract way.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was Elon who said that you're a cyborg already.
Yes,
It's just,
exactly.
it's, you walk around with this
Yeah.
and everyone has one
Yep.
and you can't like do basic things. You
Without
can't even like,
it.
you
I
can't even like
know.
go to an amusement park anymore without them being like, where's your QR code?
I know. So true.
Yeah.
And if you try to ignore that thing for even 24 hours, you'll get people being like, where the hell are you
dead?
Are you dead?
What's wrong with you? You fell off a rock or whatever. And like, it's crazy. Like you almost have to alert everybody. Hey guys, I'm going on a screen detox.
Yeah.
Nobody talk to me.
Well, it's kind of crazy to think like, before when we were younger, it's like you didn't have a phone. If you got lost, you're just lost.
Yeah, you just be lost. You go figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, we were a lot stronger without these little trap box devices that we have now.
MapQuest.
Yeah.
Back when MapQuest was the big thing.
I remember printing directions.
Yes.
Having to read them. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, I still keep an atlas in my car because you never know what
it's true. You don't.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Should, yeah.
I remember traveling with my grandparents, and they didn't even do MapQuest. So we were literally on a map.
Yeah.
Like, all right, and we got to take this all the way to exit, and it's just like a whole crazy way to think about navigating.
You have to use your brain in a totally different way that now we are not using. So we aren't building those pathways in our brains anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
So in a lot of ways, we have become handicapped by the robots that we call so near and dear to our heart. Where's my phone? Where is it?
That's true.
Well, when you
They
lose
don't
it, you
have
feel
it.
like you lost your pants.
You really do.
If you're out in public and you're like, oh shit,
yeah.
where's my phone go? You
It's
feel naked. You're like, what?
For
Wow,
real.
it's a little Pokedex,
It's
you know?
such a safety blanket.
A little
yeah.
Pokedex. I love that.
Well, I mean, also like, if you think about it, if something happens and you're like something approaches you or something happens that you don't know about, some sort of surprise, or you get some weird cut or something looks weird, you can instantly figure out what it is for the most part, right? It's like, oh, that's just a blankety blank. Like,
oh, that's cancer.
That's just, oh, good. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I was thinking like, oh, that's a
Don't
squirrel.
WebMD
like, maybe
things
not.
too hard.
Yeah.
That is like
Oh
a
my God.
whole like,
I have a headache.
I know so many people that like
Dying.
have like just self-induced, just crazy anxiety and hypochondria just from looking up random shit. I'm like, stay the fuck off the internet for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I got a pimple on my knuckle.
And you Googled it.
And no, my girlfriend was like, "Oh my God, monkeypox!" And I was like, at the time, she was joking, obviously, and I was like, "Haha, yeah." And I slept on it. And I was like, so I Google monkeypox, and it shows some guy with a fucking mark on his hand that looks just like mine, and I was like. how would I have gotten it though?
That's so crazy.
I'm not. And then it was just a pimple. So.
It's just a pimple.
Yeah. But there was definitely a day or two where I was like, I don't know.
Do I have the pox?
Yeah. It's just
tiny little. Is this
You might
the
have had the
cheese
pox.
touch?
Yeah, the cheese touch. Exactly.
That's so funny. I said the same thing. And I don't think you see that like just came up not that long ago.
Oh, really?
The
That's so
cheese touch,
funny.
yeah.
We're living in a cheese touch world right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is very much like
Cheese
that.
touch girl living in a cheese touch world. You gotta watch that movie.
Oh,
I
you
feel
have the
like.
cheese touch. You can't go out. You can't leave your room for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Nobody wants your cheese.
Yeah. So, when did you first start? Now, do you do you do production too? Music production as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so anything that's on my profile that doesn't have Plumpy's name on it is produced by me.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Do you guys I mean, that's got to be so fun. Do you guys end up like, hey, I'm trying to do this, but like, how would you approach? Yeah.
Yes, so much. And I'm so grateful that he's so open to, but I'm also like very independent. So a lot of the time he can tell that I'm struggling before I even want to say anything. He's like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? I'm like, I don't even know. Because he's definitely way more advanced than I am in the world. Like he's been doing it for more than twice as long. But I started music producing when I was 20. So I've been doing it for almost 5 years now, but not as consistently as he does.
Yeah.
But he definitely helps me out like a lot. So anytime that I'm like, confused or something, like how do I get this certain little frequency out? He's like, oh yes, or whatever, he's nice about like what he can help me with. So that's really nice to have each other to kind of bounce back and forth. And he'll like show me art and he'll be like, what can I do to do differently on this thing? And I'll be like, oh, here, do this.
That's awesome.
So we both have our strengths that we like bounce back and forth between each other to keep each other growing.
Did you help him out with our Audio Mac logo? Like Bone Apple Tea's Audio Mac, like little square PNG that we have.
He did most of that. No,
Oh,
I didn't do a lot with that. No, but he did. He was like, what do you think of this? what do you think? What do you think of it? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, or I'm like, oh, can you move that? Or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a lot of the time how it goes. Like we're both very independent and we'll do like what it is that we like envision. And then we kind of bounce ideas back and forth between each other. And that's really nice to have because, you know, if you're just doing stuff alone, a lot of times you'll question it and you'll be like, I don't know if this is any good, you know?
Yeah, like you need that feedback.
Yeah. And so it's really nice because that way you can kind of bounce ideas.
And like a lot of that stuff too, it's kind of like, I feel like that like speeds up the time frame a lot too, because some of it's like really weird. Like you said, like, oh, how do I get rid of this specific frequency or whatever? Sometimes it's like, all right, how do I even Google this question? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't even have the keywords to search my problem.
Then you ask somebody or like, you know, he asks you like, how do I do this? And like, you just know what he's talking about.
Right.
But it's like sometimes it's like communicating that to Google is even tough. So you end up spending hours.
Even Reddit can be hard to like, it's kind of fun to like start a community question like, oh guys, I'm trying to do this thing. How do you think I should do it? And then you get so many random answers that you're like, why did I even ask this question? I don't even know if this is what I wanted at all.
I gotta vet these out a little, huh?
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of that when I was like in the beginning stages of learning Cubase. Like you would come across a very specific problem and be like, how do I bop, bop, bop? And then there would be nothing. And you'd be like, okay, so this is an ungoogleable answer. I have to try and figure this out.
Honestly, with augmented reality, bringing it back to that, I would like, it is so hard because so few people are doing it. So I run into this problem literally on the daily where I'm like, I just have to click a whole bunch of random buttons until I figure out how to do what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to make tutorials, but I'm also like, I guess, too camera shy to like open up the camera and be like, hey, this is how we're going to do this today.
That'd be awesome.
Like this, you know?
I feel like you'd be great. You're so animated. I feel like you'd be like entertaining, you know?
Oh, thank you.
Actually, it might, and it's kind of interesting, but it might actually be a really good avenue for you as far as like an actual YouTube channel because there's so
niche and there isn't a lot of people doing it, you know?
You'd be like one of those like early entry people.
Niche. Yeah, you have a good point. Thank you. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, because it's like really interesting stuff to learn about too. Do you have anything that's on your like board of things that you want to do that's coming up? What do you got?
I am working on a parallel dimension mirror. So this is something that I hope to show at the Hygienic Gallery. I'm like writing up the proposal for it, but basically what I'm going to do is it's going to be like a giant screen, but it'll be vertical. And there will be a camera on you behind the screen. So that way, when you walk up to the screen, it will feel like a mirror because you're in the same space, but your body gets turned into a character. And there's like little like 3D sculptures that kind of builds the space. So you feel like you're walking or I guess mainly the idea too is to make the viewer part of the art.
Oh, cool.
So without the viewer, the art's pretty much nothing besides a screen with like an ornately sculpted frame, you know?
Wow.
And then you walk up to it and you realize that you're part of the art. You're part of this world that you're in, but you're also now building this world behind the screen.
Oh,
that's
wow.
super cool.
And the screen is nothing without you, basically.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, so that's what I'm currently working on. It's using AR. I'm going to be doing like my hand sculpted frames, so it'll do physical, digital, and hopefully be good encompassing. Trying to figure out what to do with the audio. There's got to be audio. There's got to be audio.
You know? There's got to be a whole.
So I have to learn how to do some like audio reactive stuff. But yeah. I love learning.
Like when someone like shows up on the screen, like it like plays something.
Yeah, it goes like da-da-da. Or like something, you know, where you feel like all of a sudden it's like everything just awoke for you to walk up to this moment. You know, like
very cool.
It'll be kind of a magic moment in that way.
Oh, I love that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you like, I'm like curious, in order to make that happen, I'm guessing there has to be some sort of detection. Is it mainly going to be facially detected? Like, okay, there's 2 eyes and a mouth and a nose. Therefore, this is a person as opposed to just like a piece of wood coming into frame, you know?
So different sensors. Right now, I'm working on I'm pretty sure I'm going to use an Xbox Connect.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And so it senses body motion. And then it will it's going to be like a motion capture studio. So it will turn your body into digital information, which then turns it into the character.
Oh,
so it takes like a lot of scripting and like using my brain in weird ways that I don't, because I use Google Maps. So you know what I mean? So it's a really, really big project. And that's kind of like what I've been like slowly working towards, is just making more and more 3D characters so that it feels like a whole world. Like if you walk up with like a group of friends, everybody's going to be their own little character. It'll just like randomly choose who's who, basically.
Oh, that's
pretty
really
neat.
cool.
Yeah. It's an interesting project.
Yeah, no
I'm
kidding.
It's cool. You get to learn a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
How long are you giving yourself to do that? That seems very complicated.
I'm just doing it day by day with everything that I've been making. Like I've been making like 3D characters right now. I'm working in the AR space and just constantly trying to basically learn about the scripting that goes behind a project like this.
Yeah, it's like working on like individual building blocks to kind of get yourself to the...
Yeah, exactly. So my goal is to have the project somewhat finished by next summer, so that way it can be shown in a gallery. Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's one of those massive projects that I'm like, baby steps. And then like beyond that, once I've figured out how to do that, then I can start to learn Unity and do game development with that same concept.
That would be so cool.
So, yeah. So I'd make a game where basically all your friends turn into these characters and all of the characters are on this mission. It's going to be like a mystery mission. And yeah. So it's a whole wild concept that I probably won't even finish until I'm like 40, but it's fine.
Well, by then the AR technology will
be crazy.
Yeah. So
it'll basically make itself at that point, probably at the rate we're going.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you just have to input an idea, and the computer's like, "Don't worry, I got this."
I got this. Right? AI has got your AR figured out. We're all just gonna be A-okay.
Yeah. That was a great quote right there. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on a bit of an hour here.
Yeah.
So before we sort of sign off or anything, this doesn't have to be like sign off now, but is there anything that you wanted to cover before we head out?
I should have prepared something for this moment.
Like a long speech.
Yeah. I wish I had like a monologue prepared.
Yeah.
Super dramatic and the lights dim.
Yeah, the lights dim down.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be. It would.
It's like, that's a head scratcher.
Basically, I just want to encourage everybody that's creative to keep creating and keep going every day, because it's not easy to choose a creative lifestyle and to literally put everything that you do and put all of your time away into what you create. It's not easy, but it's very rewarding. And so I just want to encourage anybody that's listening to this to just keep creating, keep learning. There is so many different avenues to take the creative art and creativity in general that it needs to be done, because we need a culture. We need culture. Like really, our culture is lacking because people don't value the arts. So my final message would just be keep creating, keep going. I know it's hard, but it's so rewarding and so much fun. And art is a legacy. So
yeah, for sure.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
You just like threw it out of my tongue, you know?
Sometimes those are the best ones.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for coming on again.
You.
Oh, wait. Where to find you?
Where to find me?
Yes,
I'm Daisy Maize, Daisy Maize, at most things. Except for Twitter, I'm Daisy Maize, because Daisy Maize was taken, unfortunately. But that's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so it's DAIZZMAIZE or DAIZ. Wait, I forgot how to spell for a second. DAISYMAIZE. There we go.
Nice.
Yes. And so, any music platform or social media, that's who I am.
Sweet.
Cool.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. It was a ton of fun.
Randy. Thank you, Adam. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much for listening to Bone Apple Tea. If you like the show, please give us a follow, like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. Tell your friends about it. And, make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's Bone Apple TV, BoneAppleTeav on Instagram. Thanks so much.